Hi, I'm Annie Owens, and welcome to My Dimensional Life. Tonight, I really want to talk about what what happens when a person passes on, and they have a message that needs to go on to another person, and they're able to actually connect with somebody and have them pass on the message. What messages, you think to yourself, what messages would be given by a loved one who's passed? And that's what we're going to talk about because I've had it happen to me now 3 times in my life, and each time it is a little bit different. And I want to go in to describe the differences between all 3 times that it happened and the way that the messages were brought about. It was a learning experience for me that I went through, and this is probably going to take 2 to 3 parts to be able to go through this. But before I get started, I would like you to like and subscribe to my channel and help this continue to just keep going and going and going so we can get it all out there. All right, the first time that it ever happened, it happened when my husband worked with a female when he was becoming an EMT. He became really good friends because they had to have lab partners, or you want to call it stick partners, because they call it poke for poke, when they're learning how to do IVs. And they became really good friends through the class. She ended up moving with her husband way south, and there was an accident that took place. And my husband, at the time, he was working out of state, and he was just shocked, just totally shocked from it. He actually told me, he says, that first night that she died, and I told him, and he was very just devastated about what had happened with her because she was in a car accident. She got a call to get to the ambulance, and she went to go turn around, and it was really icy, and she rolled the truck trying to get to the ambulance to save somebody else. And it was just a tragic thing. It was very quick. Nobody in it had any time to prepare themselves. It was just something that just happens, an accident that happens. And when that happened, my husband had a dream that first night. And he says, I had the weirdest dream about my partner. And I said, okay, well, what happened? He goes, well, in my dream, you were sitting next to me, and she was sitting across from me, and she was yelling and she was screaming, and I could only know that she was yelling and screaming because I could see her face, but I could hear no sound. He said she was yelling, she was screaming, she was angry, she was upset. And he says it was just really weird that you're sitting next to me in my dream, but she's yelling and screaming and nothing's coming out. I can't hear anything. And so, anyways, I'm like, yeah, that really was weird. And he kept telling her in the dream, hey, go slower. I will read your lips so I know what you're saying. But she was a redhead, and she did have a temper, and she just wouldn't calm down. Okay. So I just thought, oh, wow, that's just kind of strange. No, that's not a normal thing that somebody dreams me actually sitting next to them in the dream. And so I'm like, huh, okay. Well, the next night I had a dream. Okay. My dream the next night was I was sitting next to my husband. She was sitting across from us, and she was screaming and she was yelling, but I was hearing her. And I kept telling her, hey, hey, calm down. I'm trying not to use names, so I'm going to be very careful about this. I'm like, hey, hey, calm down. It's okay. It's okay. And she's like, she kept telling me, everybody is ignoring me. I show up at the house and they just pretend like I'm not even there. She was upset. She didn't understand why everybody was ignoring her. And in fact, she didn't know that she had passed. She didn't know that she was in an accident. In her mind, even though she didn't take two and two together, because she would go from place to place and it was almost instantaneous. It's not like she had to get in a car and drive there, but she wasn't thinking about that. But she would show up and she thought that they had something against her, and they were just being really mean to her because they were ignoring her, and she was trying to talk to them. She was literally showing up to talk to them, and they were just totally ignoring her, and they seemed really sad, but she didn't know what was going on. And I was telling her, calm down, calm down. I said, you were in an accident and you died. And she goes, no, no, I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm very much alive. And I told her, yes, yes, You are alive, but you're in a different form of being alive. You are no longer connected with this body. You are alive. You live. You go on, but you're now going on without your body. And she stopped for a minute, but it took a long time literally to calm her down. She was not easy to calm down, and I worked really hard just to get her nice and calm. And finally she calmed down, and it was like everything was starting to try to process through. And I said, look, what you need to do is you need to go back to when you were in your truck and remember the last time you were in your truck. And I said, I want you to watch it and see it. Well, what happened in this accident was when the truck rolled, it happened so quick. She hit her head, boom, as the truck rolled over, and she died so quickly. They said there was maybe a quarter's worth of blood that she had coming out. That was it. She was like gone. But it was so quick that she didn't have time to process what had actually happened. And so she didn't understand that she had passed on. I said, go back to the last time you drove this truck, and I want you to watch it. Because I understand that there really is no such thing as time. So if she was able to go back in her mind to the last time she drove the truck and watch it, then she would be able to get her answers as to what happened. And I said, look, and this is a mistake I made. I never made this mistake again. Is I said to her, if you need a message passed on to your husband, I said, what I want you to do, I said, I want you to come into my dream. I want you to wake me up, have me dream it again, wake me up, have me dream it again until I could remember it. I've learned since then, don't do that. So she says, okay. And she literally just left. Well, like 2 days passed after this. And I was laying in bed. I was asleep at night. And she had me dream the message. Now, when she had me dream the message for her husband, she put it in picture form. It's not like she was literally talking to me. She was showing me pictures to create an idea. It was really weird. I'd never had that happen. It's the first time that I had actually went through this experience. And she showed me picture after picture, and it was trying to explain it. And then she would wake me up. I was awake, and it's like, okay. This went on literally until like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I literally only had 2 more hours before I was going to need to get up for work. And but it was over and over and over again till finally I'm like, hey, I got it. I got the message. I promise I won't forget. I've got the message, because I needed some sleep. I was just completely exhausted the next day after this has happened. I have since learned, don't ever ask the spirit to do that for you. Your best bet is to put a notebook beside your bed and have them dream. If you have to dream it to get that message through to you, then that's fine. Pull that notebook up, write it all down in every single detail you have, either that, or if you have, maybe you can use your recorder on your phone and just put in as much detail as possible to be able to remember it. Because when it comes in like the dream form and you're being told the message, what'll happen is you will slowly forget it as you fall back asleep. You might remember bits and pieces of it, but remembering the whole thing is very important. And so now I had this message, and I'm telling my husband, what do I do with this? She did come back. She gave a message. She hadn't been married to this husband very long, and it was about him, helping him go on. Everybody asks, what happens? What messages do they give? Honestly, they give messages to help that person go on, except there are difference in times, and we will get to that one, okay? So this woman, she was very nice. She was very kind. She did have a good heart, and her whole thing was, when she met this husband, it was, well, when she met him, he was one that was very introverted. He kept inside like a bubble. He didn't go out of his way to explore and do new things and find out new avenues of life and learn to enjoy different aspects of life. He stayed pretty much just kind of contained to himself, and she kept showing me all these different things. And she told me, these things like wave running, going out on a boat, simple stuff like that. It was that he never did that, and his bubble was really, really small. And she wanted to make sure that he didn't close himself off now that she was gone, because she was helping him learn about different things, explore different things, find out different ways of living and doing this and that. She was very active, and because of that, she was afraid that now that she was gone, that he was just going to go back and close into his world. And so her message to him was she wanted him to stay open and please enjoy life, explore life, find out what's out there for you. Don't just close yourself off the way that you had yourself closed off before. So her message was a message of love, and she was coming forward to share this with him. And I had never given anybody a message before like this. I had never had an experience before to be able to give somebody a message like this, or any type of message. Hey, your dead partner that passed on, they came to me and they told me. Most people are like, who are you for them to tell you? But the whole thing is, it's just the gift and the light that you carry. People that do this, it's almost like you're like a little beacon of light, and they'll seek you out. And I've had others try to have me give messages. I don't know who they are, and because of that, I don't know who they want it given to you. And that's another story. I've had to actually literally pretty much remove them, because there was nothing I could do, and I could tell, because there is no such thing as time, that they were literally from another time period. So the message is not going to come forward to the person that they need, and the person they need is probably already crossed over, and they're there trying to have me give a message, and they didn't cross over. So there's a lot of different aspects to everything that's going on with this. So with her, I asked my husband what I should do, and I prayed about it. I'm like, what do I need to do? How do I need to give him this message? I had never done anything. He's going to think that I'm some kook, some crazy person. And I decided, okay, I'm going to wait till the funeral. So the funeral comes, and we go down. It was in more southern Utah. We go down to this funeral, and I told him, I said, hey, if you got a few minutes, can we talk? And I'd already kind of hinted to him before the funeral that I was going to need some time to talk to him. I know it sounds weird, but I have a message for him. And he was like, okay, well, whatever. So after the funeral, we went into a side room at the funeral to be able to talk for a minute. And I said, look, this is how I decided I'm going to do it. I said, look, I've got a message for you. You can think I'm crazy. You can decide not to listen to it. It's totally up to you. But I know that I'm not going to be left alone until I pass on this message to you. I need to tell you this message, and it's just inside of me, and I know I'm not going to be able to relax until I give you this message, and you can decide what you want to do with it. I'm just going to put it out there, okay? I'm just a messenger. You can decide to take the message, leave the message, throw it away, whatever. So we sit down, and he actually had this woman's daughter in the room also with him. And I started explaining what had happened and how her temper had gotten up, and it took a while to calm her down enough, because this is a short version of it. And when I'm having this dream of this message, well, before the message, when I'm having this dream and she didn't even know that she had passed on, she was not easy to calm down. It took a very long time to calm her down, and I didn't actually know her on a one-on-one basis. I had known her through my husband, but that was just kind of meeting him when I was picking him up from school. But other than that, I didn't really know her. And so when I'm telling them about this, about how her temper was, they actually kind of laughed. They said, yes, that's exactly how she is. When she gets upset and her feathers are ruffled, it took her a long time to calm down. She was not an easy person to calm down. And so I'm like, okay, I'm on the right track. This is what she was telling me and showing me. And I told them everything about how I had her have me dream it, wake up, and how I was just totally exhausted. And I'm like, hey, I've got the message. I need some sleep. I need some sleep so I can work tomorrow. And so, anyways, I went on and I gave him the message. And I didn't know him either, only through a little bit that my husband had said about him. But this was after the experience, to find out he was very introverted. He did have a life that he kept pretty much closed off. And so I told him what she said, that she was concerned that he was going to just close off his world and make it small again. And she wanted him to stay open and enjoy new things, learn new things, go and do new things. She wanted him to be able to continue living on and not close himself back off into this little box that he was at before. And he totally understood that. He says, it's interesting that you say that, because that is one thing that we talked about, that she, before, she says, I want you to explore the world. I want you to be able to enjoy everything, to learn new things. And he goes, I could see her saying that. And so I said, well, now I gave you the message. You can do with it what you want. It did help him in the fact that from the last time that I heard about him, he did go through to where he was really sad, but he did actually start trying new things, going and doing new things. He didn't totally close himself off. Maybe he wouldn't have been as adventurous as when he was with her, but he was working up towards that. The last I talked to him, he was trying new things and doing this and doing that, because he knew that that's what she wanted. And so it was helping him. So when the spirit comes back and they really care about their partner, they do give messages to help them move on. Okay, that's number one. This is all we're going to talk about today. But next time I do want to talk about, we have two more other experiences. And one was one that was a person that was sick, and her husband got to live through it till she passed. And then another message was somebody who died instantly. It wasn't an accident, it was a health related issue. But in that case, that one didn't pass on. And we need to discuss the difference between attitudes. The attitude that you have when you pass on and you haven't crossed over yet, you still carry that same attitude with you that you had here on this earth. If you're upset about somebody, something that they did, you tend to carry that with you, because even though you've left your body energetically, you still have the emotions that you had before until you cross over. When you cross over, it's like you're able to let go of that, because of the fact that you're able to see in a 360-degree angle of how we talked last time about the man who had actually see that 360-degree angle of why this happened, and understand fully, where as if they stay here, they only can see what they have. Everybody has their own perception, so they're still living through their own perception that they had before. So we'll get into that next time. Let's see how far we can go next time with the next message. But I want to get this across, because we're going to have a lot of people that will be crossing, and you need to know that they want you to move on. And that doesn't mean you don't need to grieve. We all need to grieve. We all need to grieve and be able to let it go enough to where we continue on. But in the end, they all want us to continue on, to continue to be that best person that we can become, to help us. They want to help, if they can, even guide us. Even as the story that I told you about, the one that had accidentally, oh, I said that name, sorry, had accidentally unalived himself. I'm going to have to go back and bleep all this stuff. I'm so sorry. Anyways, the one that had accidentally unalived himself, even with him, he wanted her to move on, to be able to do all right, but he was still carrying that energy from him of what had happened, the sadness, the grief, and everything. And so that's what happens when they don't cross and they're still staying there and trying to do that. And they're trying to help you. They want you to move on. And so that's what I'm trying to put out there yourself, with relatives that have passed, loved ones that have passed. They want you to move on. They want you to be okay. They want you to be strong enough to go and move on, because this life is all about the experiences. The only thing you take with you when you go are the experiences that you had here. And that is what you take with you. So don't stop your life. Continue to move on, even though understand we got to grieve, and it may be small little baby steps, but do what you can. Keep moving. Please like and subscribe, and we'll get part 2 out next time. Thank you. This is Annie Owens with My Dimensional Life.